In the 12th century, the Mongolian steppe was a frozen, unforgiving landscape where merely surviving the winter was a victory. Tribal units functioned as autonomous shifting cells. Alliances lasted only as long as the immediate weather or local threat, and betrayal was a common tool for survival. A boy named Temujin saw the limits of these alliances firsthand. His father, a tribal chief named Yasuge, was murdered, poisoned by enemies during what was supposed to be a celebratory feast. Without their chief to provide for them, Temujin's family became a liability. Rather than share scarce winter resources, their own tribe packed up their camp and abandoned the widow and her young children on the ice. The tribe's departure left the family with nothing but the clothes on their backs. For the young boy, the collective was no longer a source of protection. It was the first entity to leave him for dead. The family resorted to foraging and tracking field mice and rats just to delay starvation. The pressure of extreme hunger fractured the family from within. During a dispute over a tiny amount of scavenged food, Temujin killed his older half-brother. His situation deteriorated further when he was hunted down and captured by a rival group known as the Taichud. His captors fastened a heavy wooden collar around his neck, forcing him to live and labor as a slave in their camp. Starvation, fratricide, and enslavement provided a harsh education. He saw that traditional society was a threat to be managed, and that displaying any sign of weakness was an invitation for more violence. Temujin eventually found a sliver of opportunity. Under the cover of night, he slipped away, submerging himself in a freezing river to hide from the sweeping torches of his captors. A local family, taking an enormous risk, spotted him and offered shelter. They helped remove his heavy collar and allowed him to escape into the wilderness. This act of kindness from strangers stood in stark contrast to the betrayal of his own kin. It suggested that a person's value wasn't found in their name or tribe, but in their willingness to act when it mattered most. As he began to gather his own followers, he ignored the aristocratic power structures of the steppe. He promoted warriors who were born into deep poverty, elevating them over the sons of princes if they proved their skill and dedication on the battlefield. He gathered a force of outcasts and commoners, men whose only hope for status lay in their performance, not their lineage. In doing so, he overturned the centuries-old hierarchy of the plains. The harsh survival skills Temujin learned on the ice directly translated to military doctrine. His army relied on highly disciplined horse archers. These forces possessed a massive logistical advantage. Moving without slow supply trains, Mongol cavalry could ride across vast distances for days, subsisting solely on rations of dried meat and mare's milk. They paired this speed with calculated psychological warfare. By ensuring stories of their ruthlessness spread ahead of their march, they terrified entire cities into surrendering without firing a single arrow. Decades of relentless campaigning and absorbing rival camps finally culminated in the year 1206 at a grand assembly known as a Kurultai. There, the unified tribes granted him a new title, Genghis Khan, which translates to universal ruler. The scattered, endlessly warring factions of the Mongolian steppes had been molded into a single, cohesive military machine under his absolute command. With the steppes unified, Genghis Khan turned his military machine outward. His forces began systematically dismantling established kingdoms and vast armies across Asia. This expansion eventually collided with the Khwarezmian Empire, a massive state spanning much of the Middle East and Central Asia. Initially, Khan sought to establish trade, but the Khwarezmian ruler executed the Mongol diplomatic envoys. His response was total annihilation. The Mongol armies breached the walls of Khwarezmian cities, burning them to the ground and leaving rivers choked with casualties. This level of devastation was entirely deliberate. To a man whose early life was defined by abandonment, political betrayal required a response that ensured his enemies could never rise again. Yet, the extreme violence of the Mongol conquests produced an unexpected result, an era of stable, cross-continental connection. This historical map displays the vast boundaries of the Mongolian Empire. Under a single legal code, merchants moved securely. Because of this security, the Silk Road routes cutting east to west flourished, exchanging technologies, medicines, and cultures. By the time of his death in 1227, Genghis Khan had forged the foundation for the largest contiguous empire in human history. The man who dictated the fate of millions did not begin as royalty. He was a shivering child on the ice who systematically conquered his known world to guarantee he would never be a victim.